Hello and welcome to another well side-by-side video. I'm about to put the wheel back into my e-bike after getting a puncture on Sunday. I've just been out and bought the new tube I need to do the job. There's a couple of things I need to bring to your attention if you're ever going to do one of these e-bike conversions, and it's in relationship to the wheel and the dropouts. So if I take the nut off, what you'll notice on the spindle, there is a flat on two sides. Now that measures 9.6 millimeters across the flat, and that flat has to go in that dropout. Some frames it'll go straight in, some frames it'll be really tight. But what I've had to do with my frame is I've had to file the slot a little bit wider to make it easier to drop the wheel in. You're not going to take a lot of strength out of the frame, if any. It just needs to be a nice fit, but not a fit that you don't need to hammer it in, because all you're going to do is gouge the frame up. You just need a nice fit. So I'm going to put the tube on now, and I'm going to drop the wheel back into the bike. So let me get on with the tube, putting the tyre back on the rim, getting this thing rebuilt. And then I'll bring you back when I've got it all back together. Right, the reason why I told you you've got to check the sizes. You've got the flat that locates in the frame. Now, when you drop the spindle in, it has to drop right to the bottom of the dropout, like it has done on this one. And this one's done exactly the same. It's gone right down to the bottom. And that was with no hammering. And that is how your wheel should fit. Because that's now located on them two flats in the frame dropout. And that's as far down as it's going to go. I've got one spacer there, which is all I need, and I've got the other spacer there between the gear set and the frame to stop the sprocket so it doesn't rub on the frame. That's all you need. You've just got to get your wheel centered. Now I can tighten all this up now, happy knowing nothing's going to rub. I can put my disc back on and get some more air in this tyre, and we can test the bike again. Let me show you, nothing rubs. I'm going to pedal it now. There is nothing rubbing on that back wheel. I've got that wheel perfectly centred and nothing is touching anything. So I've just got the assembly job to do now. Disc back on, torque arm back on, nuts and washers back on. I'll show you the torque arm when I put the caliper back on, because that's how it locates. Right, this contraption here is what they call the torque arm, and it locates on the flats. And then you've got to mount this somewhere securely. A lot of people use this part of the arm and they mount it with a Jubilee clip. Now that isn't strong enough. It really needs to be bolted to the frame, because there is a lot of pressure on that particular component, and that's all that's stopping this wheel from potentially spinning in the frame, wrecking the frame and destroying everything. That has to be securely mounted. So I use one of my caliper mounting bolts to locate this particular component. Now that can't go anywhere. All I need to do is torque these two 21mm nuts up now. The recommended pressure for this tyre is 65 psi, so I've got to get that in there. But that's the back wheel back in after having a puncture. If I'd have had a tube, I could have done all this at the side of the road and not had to push the bike home. So let me finish the build and we can go out and give it a test ride with the new tube. But this has all got to come apart again because I've ordered mousses. They're like big O-rings that go inside the tyre that you've got to lever on. And they just stop you getting punctures. A bit like the bikes you used to have when you were a kid with solid tyres. But the solid bit goes inside the tyre. We use them on enduro bikes and motocross bikes to stop the punctures. And the same idea on these. So when they turn up, one in the front, one in the back, and I'll show you how to fit them as well. But for now, let me get this bike back together. Right, so I'm all buttoned up now. I've got 65 psi of air in the tyre. I've got the torque arm on, which stops the hub motor spinning in the frame. I've got my wiring re-zip tied to the frame with zip ties that I can actually take apart and reuse rather than having to cut them off, because if you do get a puncture washer out and you have to remove the wheel, you have to break that connection to get the hub motor out. So reusable zip ties there. Calipers back on and recentered. And by recentered, what you do is you mount the caliper loosely and crack that bolt and that bolt, apply the brake, and it centres the caliper up on there. Nip them two up, tighten that one, and then undo them again, reapply the caliper, double check your centering, tighten to torque, and then your brake will not rob. So we're all buttoned up now and we're ready to put a battery back on this bike and take it for a ride. And the tube I've used in it this time is a tube that's already pre-filled with slime. That should, if I get any thorns go through, seal the tube up whilst I'm out, but it won't protect me from splitting the tube. But tubes are what they are. You can nick them between the rim and the tyre if you haven't got enough air in the tyre. But with these things being so heavy on the back, you've got to make sure there's plenty of air in there so there's no deviation on the tyre to nip the tube. It's just what happened to me on Sunday. Nipped the tube. Can't be helped. So I'm going to figure out now where to keep a spare tube. I know what tools I need to carry. I need to carry all 21mm spanner, 5mm Allen key, and a 10mm open ender. And the 10mm is for cracking the nut on the torque arm for when I put it back on and mount it back to the caliper. You've got to get that in the right place or you'll never get the bolts in. So them are the only three tools I need to carry with me. Oh, and the pump and a tube. Got another one in the car, so I'm going to figure out now where I can mount all the bits and pieces I need to carry whilst I'm out. Right, we've now got enough tools fastened to the bike to change a rear wheel, because I need a 21mm, a 10mm spanner, 5mm Allen key, and obviously I need to carry a tube with me, which I've got there, and the pump. So the 10 and the 21 are going to live under the seat. they're zip tied together through the ring end of the spanners, and then they're zip tied with removable zip ties to the seat, and then these two are zip tied under the seat as well to stop them rattling around. So they're triple, well, they're actually triple zip tied. There's 3 zip ties holding the spanners on. Then the 5mm Allen key I need for the caliper. So that's zipped. I've put that through the zip ties that go round all the wiring, and then I've zip tied it down so it can't rattle out. So we've got the 5mm Allen key now. We've got our pump, and I've zip tied a tube in front of the control box on the top tube of the frame. So we've got a 26-inch tube now. So if we get another puncture, at least now I can get the bike back home without having to push it. But if I get 2 punctures, at the moment I'm buggered. But I am putting mousses in both tyres, so we'll alleviate that problem eventually. But for now I'm going to carry the tools as I've got them. This is a lesson learned from Sunday. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. A little bit more time with the e-bike as we're learning. And learning what we need to carry with us and what happens and what the consequences are of getting a puncture. I now know what tools I need to carry with me, and I need to carry a tube. Hey, thanks for watching. Please consider liking, please consider subscribing.